the truth about who you are and you decided to follow your North Star and wake up to spirit. But then darkness came, things got difficult, you lost everything, and it makes no sense. Why should I lose everything? Why should I struggle if I wake up to the truth, if I wake up to my North Star? If this is you and this is what you're going through, this video is for you. Hello, everybody. My name is Pamela Chioma Belong. In this video, I want to talk about the dark night of the soul. What happens to us after we wake up to the truth? A lot of us, after we discovered that organized religion is not necessarily for us, and we decided to pivot to spirituality and dive into the ocean of deep consciousness. We then discovered a certain darkness while diving deep. Very hard times. You lose what you hold dear. If money is something that you hold dear, you might lose that. If family love is something you hold dear, you might lose that. Now, there's a reason why this happens. It's always darkest before the dawn. I know that in Christianity, we are taught to fear darkness, be afraid of the dark. How many of you, when you were little, even now as grown ups, are afraid to sleep in the dark? You need a source of light coming in, even at night. How many of you? I was like that as well. I hated the dark, but now I love the darkness and I embrace darkness because it's in darkness that you grow. The trees we see out there, before they became giants, a seed was planted, and it took many moons for that seed to germinate into a tiny plant until it grew into a majestic tree. The seed was being pruned and nourished in the dark without us seeing the work going on. This is what we call the hermit phase in spirituality. When you wake up to the light, you're in the new moon phase. But when you see a new moon, you just see a sliver of moon and there's still darkness. And the reason why the darkness is still there is because we need to release some past programming, some past trauma, so that we can bloom like the full moon and become light. And this is like levels. You're attaining levels of consciousness as your light is growing. If you're actually called to guide people into the light, your own darkness is going to be harder because most of us called to guide people to the light, we come from very difficult families. We experience a lot of trauma from childhood to teenage years to adulthood. And we need to let go of those traumas. Now, everything that happens to us is actually a lesson. It happened for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. Now, to grow your consciousness, instead of saying, oh my God, this thing happened to me. Why should it happen to me? Oh my God, like, I didn't deserve this. This person that hurt me needs to burn in hell. That's actually a low level of consciousness. A higher level of consciousness is to ask, what are the lessons this is supposed to teach me? Why did this happen and how am I supposed to grow from it? All this happens in darkness. When a woman starts incubating her baby in her womb, we don't see that child unless you go to the hospital and they check. But that child is growing in the darkness of the womb, getting nourished by the food the mother takes, the thoughts the mother thinks, the words the mother says, amongst other things. And that child is growing. And when it's time, when the child becomes ripe, he or she makes her ushering into the world. So this is why darkness happens. after your spiritual awakening, you're going back into the womb of the Divine Mother. In my culture, we call her Ogugu. Ogugu actually means hole. You're going into the black hole to be resurrected again, to be reborn like the sun. Because actually, a new day starts at night and not when we see the sun. So the darkness actually ushers in the sun and it shines its light to the world without no care. In darkness, you become what in my culture we call aqua or polo. That means when you get pushed or when you when someone calls you out of your name or treats you like crap, you don't worry because you know who you are. You discovered the true you in darkness. The seed was being nourished in darkness by your mind, by your spirits. You were being nourished, and then you started to understand who you truly are. Not what other people told you, not what a high priest or high priestess told you in their divination system. You discover who you are by going into the darkness and becoming unafraid to share your light and your truth to the world. And when you come out to the world and share your light, nothing anybody can say or do can stop you from being the avatar of your chi, the avatar of your higher self. So if you're going through darkness, embrace it. It's a school. Now, if you're a healer and you're going through darkness, you're going through a PhD, a higher education, because you have to experience what the clients who will come to you in the future experience. And you need to heal yourself. Because if you can't heal yourself, you can't heal anyone else. You are your first client. I'm now talking to those who destiny is to guide and protect and teach people and bring them to the light. One day I'm going to go through my whole story, but I'll tell you something that happened during my dark moon phase. I was asked to move to one of the most expensive cities in the world, New York City. New York has been calling me for so many years. And when I awakened to spirit, I was also told that I needed to be in New York, which wasn't surprising because for 10, 12 years, New York has been calling me. And then I decided to move to New York without a place to stay, no money, but surrendering my personal will to the will of spirit. And spirit led me to a women's shelter. Instead of me playing the victim, oh my God, why am I in a shelter? I went from living in a two-bedroom affluence in a two-bedroom apartment in an affluent area in Las Vegas, driving my beautiful SUV, to having nothing and living in a woman's shelter. But instead of me playing the victim, do you know what I told myself? Oh my God, I cannot believe I live in New York City for free. The first shelter I was at was it reminded me of boarding school, which is something I attended from the age of 10 to what, 17, 11 to 17, which shows that everything we go through in life, the universe does that on purpose to set us up for something else that will come in the future. If I didn't attend boarding school, I don't know how I would have survived in the first shelter I stayed at. I was only there for 14 days. And it was a space where you share a room with about 8 to 10 girls. You share bathrooms and everything. And after 14 days, I was moved into a hotel. It was a hotel, but it was a women's shelter. And I only shared a room with one other person compared to 8 girls. Mind you, they had other shelters in New York City that had like 14 to 30 girls in one room. But because my spirit was sending me there for a purpose, they made it easier for me because I surrendered. And I got to live in New York City for free for 7 months. Now, other people could play, oh, I'm living in a shelter. No, I got to live there for 7 months, and that was the darkest of the darkest of the darkest night of the soul I have ever experienced. I had three different roommates with three different behaviors that they were there to teach me something. I lived with someone that had borderline personality disorder. I lived with someone that was schizophrenic. I also lived with someone that also had mental health issues, but to her, other people had mental health issues and she did not. And she was the hardest person. The one that looked normal was the hardest person that I had to stay with. But what I learned in that process was to love and see the world with the eyes of my heart. I learned I remember when I lived with the last person, when she came, and I was so excited because she was a black lady. She told me she practiced African spirituality. I was like, oh, sisterhood. I didn't know that spirit was getting me getting me ready for the most difficult season of my life. And I remember before we started having issues, I had a dream where she wouldn't allow me sleep. And that was spirits telling me, get ready. And when we started having issues, I kept hearing, channel your inner Buddha, channel your inner Buddha. I don't know anything about Buddha. So I went to go do some research. And Buddha reached, before Siddhartha became the Buddha and reached enlightenment, he had to learn to quiet the noise. When all these things started in my class, my professor, like, it's like synchronicities. My professor showed a picture of Buddha and things coming at Buddha. So many things coming at Buddha. But Buddha was still in peace, knowing that whatever is coming against him is not his problem. And that is what I learned. That is what that dark time taught me. That I don't have to react to everything. And the way some people behave is not my business because they are also dealing with their own shit. But I had to work on my triggers. I had to ask myself, why is this lady triggering me? Why is it that because she told me not to speak to her and that me acknowledging her scares her. And that hurt me. And I had to ask myself, why does that trigger me? And once I answered that question and switched, I didn't care anymore. She could scream from morning to night. She could play her music all night trying to disturb my sleep. That did not bother me. And I was able to ascend to the next level of my spirituality and leave that darkness into light. Now I'm in my own high rise apartment in my dream neighborhood with good view. And I have a good space, a large space, one of the biggest apartments I've ever seen in New York City. So when you surrender to the darkness, surrendering to the darkness is also surrendering to divine will. The light is going to come. Don't give up. The light is going to come. But that light is going to come when you learn the lessons, when you release the past trauma holding you back, so that you can step into your power as the avatar of your higher self. Very important, especially if you're a healer. Because the problem now is we have a lot of unhealed healers, people that advise people and heal them based on their own trauma. That is why you can go to a healer and tell them that someone hurt you and they tell you, we don't forgive here. You need to do something to deal with them. That healer is coming from a place of pain and they need to release it. So if you're truly called into this practice of healing, the first step is to do the inner work and release past programming. so that you can become a clear channel to the spirits of divine light and love. Very, very important. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here. And let's discuss down below. What is your takeaway from this video? And if this video speaks to you and speaks to your heart, share it with your friends, family, enemies, share it with everybody, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.